In today's Brit in Poland episode, I take you to Bielsko Biała, which is a beautiful city in the south of Poland. And it has to be one of the most beautiful places. The architecture there is incredible. I travelled down from Katowice by train. It took about an hour, and I think it was about 15 zloty for the ticket. So I start off at the train station, as most Polish train stations, very nice, at least from the outside. And as soon as you start to walk to the centre, you're immediately greeted with some wonderful architecture. I think it's the architecture of this city that really makes it stand out. And it was an absolute pleasure to walk through these streets. Now, actually, originally the city was divided into Bielsko and Biała, which didn't merge until 1951. Bielsko is sort of 12th to 14th century, and it was kind of like a major manufacturing of iron centre, and it specialised in smithery. And Biała, well, it was kind of Polish since 1454. And these places, they definitely changed hands a few times between the Polish, the Germans, and the Austrians. The town hall was built in 1897, but for me it was also useful because that's where the information centre was, and I did a lot of exploring. The information centre was very useful, and they provided a map with all of the important landmarks to see, so I'll take you through some of those. Of course, this city is very famous for being the home of the Rysunkovic animation studio. A studio responsible for legendary cartoons such as Bolek and Lolek, Rexio and Pampolini. And these were made between sort of the 60s and the 90s, and very large staples of Poland. And you can see dotted throughout the city these little monuments which are dedicated to some of the main characters of these series. And it's a real source of pride, I would say, for this part of the world. It's one of the main claims to fame, and quite iconic, you would say, in this city. But of course, there's a lot to see here. You only really need a day, being completely honest, depending on what you want to do. We'll go into that in a bit more detail. So we're coming up to the Polish Theatre, and this was actually built in 1890. I didn't catch any shows while I was there, but as you can probably see, it's a bit of an impressive building. Fits in well with the wonderful architecture of the time. Now, the next place we're going to is the castle. So the castle actually dates back to the mid-14th century. And in 1572, it became home to the Silesian Piast dynasty and the gentry following that. These days, it's a very nice looking building, obviously a strong landmark right in the centre. But it's also the museum, the main museum. And, okay, so plus and minus. The museum was cool, a lot of interesting exhibits. The minus being none of these exhibits really had any English translation. So to try and understand the context of what was going on, I have to admit, was a little bit tricky. It didn't help that they had all these language cards, but they were all in Polish. So perhaps this city isn't fully put in mind for the English tourist, but nonetheless, I had a really great time here, and these are just some of the exhibits which, I thought were interesting. They certainly had a large collection in there. It probably took about an hour, I would say, to walk around the various galleries and museum rooms. And I don't think it was that expensive either, about 20 zloty or something like that. So if you're going there, I would say this is a must-see, really. Yeah, as you can see, it's a fairly extensive place. Lots of corridors to walk around and such. But yeah, what I really preferred in this city was more the outdoors, I have to admit, but I will show you more of that in a moment. So, of course, any Polish city is going to be famous for its churches, right? Everywhere in Poland, doesn't matter how small a place, will have a church. And, this city is no exception. There are several churches of note, which I will get to shortly after I show you some of these nice scenic views. So the Divine Providence was actually a Baroque institution built by the Jesuits in 1760 to 1769. And just look, I mean, I have to say, I don't think I've found a Polish church which is disappointed yet. They always have such wonderful appearances inside and out. The Cathedral of St. Nicholas was built in 1447, but I think it burnt down a few times. It was eventually rebuilt in 1909 to 1910. And finally, the last one I'll show you is the Church of Martin Luther. And this was built in sort of 1782 to 89. And then in 1881, it was rebuilt in a Gothic style. And here you actually have I believe, the only statue of Martin Luther that you will find, apparently. This is what the internet tells me. And this was like a Jewish cemetery, which was locked by, sadly heard, was vandalized shortly after my trip. Really sad. This is a pink cow. I don't know why, but it just looked interesting outside a kind of florist. And yeah, there are flowers everywhere in this city. They have some really nice colourful displays. I would say, yeah, this is definitely a place to come in the summer because it just looks so beautiful. The Rheinex Square. So I stopped for some lunch here. There were quite a few bars. I had a nice drink. I can't remember what I ate. Quesadillas, I think. It was very tasty, friendly service, and, a nice relaxing place, especially in the sun. So I did my planning there and got my maps out because very shortly I will be heading to the mountains, but we will get to that. But in the meantime, Bielsko-Biała is famous for textile, machine building, and the automotive industry, building gliders and aircraft. Dom Tkaczyk, these Polish words kill me. This is a weaver's house dating to the mid-18th century, now kind of like a museum piece. It's not very big. You probably only need about 20 minutes, I'd say, to look around. But it was a little bit of a walk away, but I think it was worth it. It was only about 10 zloty to have a look. And this statue was to commemorate the people that helped to rebuild Warsaw from this little township. But as you can see, look at these buildings. Absolutely incredible. And this was a very random mosaic I just found down one of the side streets. Lovely, I have to say. And I think this is a puppet theatre, which I would imagine would be quite interesting. So if you want to go to the mountains, and I highly recommend you do, you can take buses 7 or 8, take them to the end of the line, and they will take you to this little kind of bus stop here at the base of the mountain. And then you have a choice. So the first kind of mountaintop you are heading to is Shindzielnia, something like that. And you have two choices. So you can either take about a 2-hour walk to the top, or you can do what I did and be a bit lazy and take the cable car. The cable car itself took, about 15 minutes to get to the top, and you get these lovely scenic views while you're going up, so that was an added bonus. Normally, I would have walked such a distance, but I didn't get to the mountain until kind of late in the day, so it depends how you want to plan your day. And in theory, these mountains, you can walk all over the shop. You could go to somewhere like Żywiec, for example, which is a town further south. But I opted to kind of get up to a couple of peaks. I ended up on Klimczok, which is 1,117 meters above sea level. And it's the tallest peak in the area. But it was so relaxing, so tranquil, and I think that really sums up this city overall. Best words I can think to describe it. I ended up at the top of this lookout tower, and you can see right to the Tatry Mountains on a clear day. But thank you very much for watching. This was such a nice... This was just a day out, but it was worth it. It was a beautiful place to go, very relaxing. And I have to admit, any place in Poland in the hot sun is amazing for me. But yeah, I really enjoyed my time here. It's not the biggest place in the world, but certainly it's one of those kind of little corners of Poland which I would certainly recommend taking a visit to. So thank you for watching. The next video in theory will be Katowice, which will be quite a long video, I fear. But I hope you enjoyed this one. Please stay tuned, please like, please subscribe, and I shall see you again soon.